One of the biggest issues, not just with Portland, but with most major cities, is that we have a lot of one-way streets. So, a lot of times in this conversation, you're thinking to yourself, like, if you live in a smaller town, you're like, well, why wouldn't you just turn around and go somewhere else? Well, there's over 600,000 people in Portland, and the major intersections get extremely bogged down, and that's under the best case scenario. Your traffic issues are pretty bad. So when you have a street takeover or a protest that springs up, you can't just immediately, stop and turn around. A lot of times you're pinned in. So I try to tell my wife, and I try to also live by this myself. When you're driving and you're approaching an intersection or a stoplight, you have to give yourself a lot of extra space. I try to leave about 10 feet between myself and the next car, or myself and the intersection, so that I do have a little bit of wiggle room.
So if you were to get into a situation where someone tried to pull you out of your car, maybe you're just stopped at an intersection, they're pissed off, what are you gonna do?
I worry about that a lot. Again, I live right off of Burnside, which is, one of the major roads here. But it's also one of the major areas for homeless encampments. There's a lot of homeless people that live right on Burnside. So on any given day, when I'm driving either to work or from work, there are people just in the street. I mean, everywhere. I'm going to go straight, right?
Yeah, we're going to go straight, turn right on 9th.
Okay, turn right on 9th. So at any given time, there's just tons of homeless people in the street or on the side of the street. And a lot of times they're dealing with mental health issues. People are screaming. If you don't live here, you just cannot understand what it's like. It's like driving through a zombie movie. And that's something that I do worry about. Now, number one, I'm always aware. Number two, I'm always giving myself extra room to move around. Number three, no matter what the weather is, I always keep my window cracked, because a lot of times you'll hear people screaming, yelling, throwing things. And I keep my music down when I'm on Burnside. And then number four, I'm always armed. I give people a lot of warnings. I yell to them out of my car, get back, get away from my vehicle. But ultimately, like, if someone opens my door and tries to pull me out of my car, I am going to defend myself with lethal force if needed. But that's a great question. I mean,
you see more stuff on the news. I mean, you just never know what kind of situation you'll get into.
That was 9th. I need to turn right on 9th.
That's okay.
That's okay. So I'm going to turn on. Can I turn here on 10th?
Yeah, we can go on an adventure.
Yeah. And we are at the Lloyd Center. Look at that. Guys, we are approaching the Lloyd Center. Now, this is a mall that I think is like 70 years old. One of the landmarks of Portland. And it's completely dead. There's hardly any stores that are left here. This place has just kind of become a haven for debauchery and all kinds of crazy things, including street takeovers. This is one of the areas that I think at least 3 times over the last year there's been large takeovers that have happened here. Now, something that's really important to note, guys, the cops in Portland do not respond to street takeovers. Due to the sheer size and the nature and the politics that surrounds the police bureau and the citizens of Portland, they take a hands-off approach. So again, if you're caught in one of these situations in terms of being locked in with traffic, or if something were to happen, the cops are not coming. And that's something that I think people have to be honest with themselves. Guys, there's a reality to living in, and we have to be honest, there's a reality to living in these liberal cities. I'm not trying to make this political. I'm not. But we have to talk about this in terms of reality. And in these liberal cities, these democratic cities, they've taken a hands-off approach to crime. I have my feelings and my conjecture. I don't want to get into that in this video, but for the sake of what we're talking about, there is no cavalry that's coming to save you. you find your situation where you're locked in, you're boxed in, or you're dealing with people that are trying to pull you or your family members out of your car, there's no one to call. There's no one to call. Guys, the cops are not going to show up, specifically here at the Lloyd Center or on any one of these intersections, and that's something that you have to be realistic about.